That same day, the BBC also flies Sweeney's favourite two malcontents in from America, Marty Rathbun and Mike Rinder. They are accompanied by Rathbun's wife and one of Rinder's two girlfriends for a week of fun, frolic and interviews, an all-expenses-paid vacation worth over £7,000 billed directly to the BBC. 24 hours later, and indeed for several days after that, John Sweeney, his camera crew, and Rinder and Rathbun are found filming in front of several church properties, including a restored former office of Scientology founder L. Ron Hubbard. Although the location is only used for special tours, Sweeney repeatedly pounds on the front door, pretending the church won't allow him in, and ignoring a very conspicuous sign giving him a contact telephone number. To anyone viewing the security tape, it is yet another obvious tabloid stunt designed to make the church look like it won't give the BBC access, when in reality, the BBC hasn't even asked. Seeing this, church executives inform the BBC that, while they are more than willing to go on camera for the Panorama program, it is clearly not possible to work with a reporter with such a personal interest in bashing their religion. 2 months go by with no contact from the BBC. And then on the 17th of February, John Sweeney's new producer, Katie Stead, finally emails Tommy Davis in Los Angeles, listing Panorama's allegations and notifying him the church has 7 days to respond on camera before the Panorama team leaves the United States. That's right. John Sweeney and his crew were already there in Los Angeles, interviewing ex-Scientologists they had paid to fly in from all over the United States. There's Rathbun, Mike Rinder's full-time corroborator for Rinder's story. The first day Sweeney spends at the church's Los Angeles center, filming himself walking into various entrances and accosting church parishioners with anti-Scientology flyers.
I asked him to please not come into the church to do that. If he wants to invite people and pass out flyers, he's welcome to do so on the sidewalk. And he said, okay. And then the next thing I knew, he went in through to the other entrance. And I had to go and follow him and ask him please not to do that. So he goes, oh, all right. Then he went into our other church, the Advanced Saint Hill Organization of Los Angeles. And I walked in and I said, I asked you not to go into the church. He goes, oh, I didn't know it was your church.
But John Sweeney knew it was. That's him in the exact same place 3 years earlier during his tour of the church complex with Tommy Davis. The next day, in front of church locations around Los Angeles, Sweeney elicits for his cameras what carping criticisms he can from what few disgraced former members he can dredge up. One of them is Amy Scobie, dismissed years earlier from her junior staff position for incompetence, deceit, and serial sexual misconduct. She is just one of several women physically abused by Rinder, but has apparently forgiven all to help flog her self-published book. Sweeney takes this small band of detractors back, once again unannounced, to Golden Era Productions to stage more stunts and interviews. During this visit, he showers these anti-Scientologists with hugs and kisses, never once attempting to contact, let alone hug, any of the top church executives working right there. For while he is perfectly willing to interview any person critical of the church, including flying them at considerable expense across thousands of miles, he never speaks to a single Scientology executive, although they are working right inside the buildings he has been filming. But he is willing to fly another 2,000 miles himself to interview his prize defector, Mike Rinder. This is where Sweeney would stage many more stunts, including this one, interviewing Rinder in the exact same infamous rooftop location he had used for Sean Lonsdale 3 years earlier. There is where Rinder sells his soul to give the BBC what Sweeney so desperately wants, an excuse for his abhorrent and deranged meltdown. It's a deceitful act, but then again, this is the character of Mike Rinder, a man who had not only turned his back on his religion, he had abandoned his family as well. After his sudden departure from the church in 2007, Rinder's wife flies out to see Rinder after multiple failed efforts to reach him. Her purpose? To tell him in person that his son had contracted melanoma an aggressive and disfiguring cancer. But Rinder refuses to talk to her. Multiple letters follow, begging him to answer and letting him know it is vitally important, but still no response. But when Rinder does receive the news about his son's illness, he never calls and never visits, not even when he moves to Florida and is living only 7 miles away. It isn't until the following April that Rinder suddenly becomes fearful that his callousness might prevent him from being seen as the reliable witness the BBC is supposedly paying for. So Rinder decides to pull a Sweeney-style stunt. Teaming up once again with Marty Rathbun, plus 2 others, he storms the Church of Scientology's main Clearwater religious retreat, with tape recorders rolling and cameras firing. In an acting job worthy of Olivier, Rinder demands to see his son. The police interview the young man inside and return, reporting to Rinder that his son does not want to see him and indeed wants nothing more to do with him. Any other father might have been hurt or offended, but any other father would not have brought along a 3-person camera team led by his pet bully, Marty Rathbun. Because the fact is, Rinder doesn't care about his son. He is only there, he admits, to get footage for the BBC.
Because now I actually have the evidence that I will take back to the BBC and show them.
Is this a father who cares about his son? No. In an effort to reconcile their differences, Rinder's brother makes the 10,000-mile flight halfway around the world from Australia to Florida to join Rinder's estranged wife and his adult daughter, who fly in from Los Angeles. Once Rinder catches sight of his family, instead of welcoming them, he tells them he is on the phone with John Sweeney talking about them. Rinder turns a family intervention into a violent confrontation. He shoves his daughter away, injures his brother, and grabs hold of his wife's arms in a vice-like grip, causing lacerations that bleed so much an ambulance has to be called. His wife would later say, "Mike's hands were gripping my arm so tightly I could feel his fingers actually digging into my bones." Rinder's response to her cries of pain is unrepeatable. Doctors tell Rinder's wife that the damage to the nerves in her right arm will take months to heal. Rinder's response to this violent incident with his family? To call up a local tabloid and spin a wild tale, casting himself as the victim and claiming that he has no idea how his wife sustained her injuries. That is Mike Rinder, an incompetent, a liar, and an abuser of women. And his partnership with John Sweeney is one of mutual personal gain, with no concern for fairness or the truth. For during both Sweeney's 2007 program and the filming of his program in 2010, he repeatedly violates both BBC broadcast guidelines and British Office of Communication codes by which all BBC journalists, even John Sweeney, are bound. Such as Ofcom Broadcasting Code Section 8.11, staging ambush interviews on unsuspecting victims, or doorstepping. BBC Guidelines Section 3, inventing purely fictitious stunts. BBC Guidelines Section 4, fraternizing with church detractors while consistently treating Scientologists with contempt. Ofcom Broadcasting Code Section 4.2, engaging in religious bigotry. And the list goes on. BBC Guidelines Section 3, Ofcom Broadcasting Code Section 5.1, Ofcom Broadcasting Code Section 5.7, Ofcom Broadcasting Code Section 5.8, and on and on. In more than 50 letters, the Church and its solicitors have brought these violations to the attention of Panorama, as well as the executive levels of the BBC, all of which have been disregarded. The BBC has also failed to respond to requests for specifics behind any of the allegations they have made, but have chosen instead to endorse Sweeney in his attempt to cobble together a story bereft of facts. And helping Sweeney to fabricate this story are the likes of Mike Rinder and his corroborator, Marty Rathbun. For who are these people, really? Desperate wrecks of men, relying on each other to salvage their reputations, ready and willing to do and say anything to regain the stature and influence they once enjoyed. Is this how the public wants the BBC to spend their license fees? On the personal agendas of a disgraced tabloid journalist and a self-described posse of vindictive liars? The answer, of course, is no.